All Blacks and Japan, folks. Test match just prior to the start of the November tests, which begin the kind of Autumn Nation series. And the All Blacks get a pretty comfortable win, 64 points to 19. It's one of those kind of mixed bag ones. Do you be a glass half full person and say that's an absolute hammering? Or do you go glass half empty and say the All Blacks went from scoring, tries 14, 21, 24, 30 minutes, etc., to a long stint at the end where they couldn't score for large periods, lack of an impact from the bench. I don't know. You can look at it either way, but ultimately it's a 64 points to 19 win, which is certainly a lot more than the All Blacks won the last time they played Japan. And remembering, I know this Japan side is having a bit of a transitional phase themselves, but the All Blacks, they played a somewhat experimental side against Japan for this one. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts on the game. What ranking would you give the All Blacks for this performance? My dad said a 7. A 7 out of 10. Good crowd over there in Japan. They seem to be pleased to see the All Blacks in town. I think they said 60-odd thousand people out to see this one. And the All Blacks started like a team under a little bit of pressure. Some errors. Almoa, first line out. Not straight. Japan had a big line break down the right wing. Wanga, the big lock, one-handed offload. If he finds somebody with that one, potentially causes some problems. Roygaard, first box kick out on the full. Territory for Japan, and they punished. The ABs. Fujiwara with a nice inside ball to the right willer Nakamura, who was way in off his wing. Cuts through a big gap. Gets kind of around. I think it's Almoa and then Kane. Gap between them. Way too big, and Nakamura just straight through. 7 points to 0 to Japan. What a start for them in this game. I thought that was kind of pleasing, though, because it was good to see the All Blacks put under a bit of pressure. If the All Blacks had just come and scored within the first minute and then, put on a 20, 30-point lead, doesn't really test them as mentally as this game could have, because the All Blacks did go down. They did reply after a few kind of continued knock-ons, but they did reply with a try. Satiti turnover ball, man, they kind of got a second bite of the cherry after initially kind of having handling errors blow a chance. Wide ball from Demac, nice cutout pass to Proctor, who gives it to Talia. Beats about 3 defenders. Try time ABs. It is 7 points apiece with the conversion. And then Tuipulotu got the All Blacks' second try. This one comes from a Damien McKenzie cross kick, essentially putting the Japanese fullback under a little bit too much pressure. He couldn't handle the ball, ends up going into touch, means it's New Zealand territory, means chance to attack, and then the skills are on display. The handling is finally starting to get there. Tuipulotu, one-handed take to get a pass that was sent his way, and he beats about 3 guys to go over the line as well, so 14 points to 7. Japan won't be happy with how many tackles they have been a-missing, but they kept missing them in the first half, and the All Blacks prove once they get the handling right, they are a still very dangerous team. But that being said, Japan managed to hit pretty much straight back. They had a line out in the All Blacks 22, couple of phases, and then another kind of defensive lapse. Like the All Blacks, when the defense broke down, it was good for large periods, but when it broke down, it was just obvious big holes. Makisi just picks and goes around the side of the ruck, and there's just nobody there. So Japan able to even things up, not quite because of the misconversion, but 14 points to 12. Takes a bit of a wind out of the All Black sails, and then potentially a game-changing moment, because Warner Dearns has a fantastic try TMO'd, sadly for Japan, because DMAC got absolutely smashed in a tackle from the number 8 Makisi by Japan. Loose ball bobbles, Dearns hacks it through, he lumbers, he's a big lock, 2 meters tall, lumbers after the thing, he's got some real toe for a guy his size, he's able to gather the ball, goes over for a try, but they find that there was a knock-on in that initial tackle on DMAC. So that could have been, Japan back in front, putting on the pressure on the ABs. Maybe the All Blacks have some issues with that pressure of going behind, but they don't. They still remain 2 points ahead. And then from the resulting scrum, they punish. It almost looks like a training field move. Roygaard from the back of that scrum. DMAC, Proctor, Reese on the right wing. Reese back to Proctor. Proctor's able to go over. So All Blacks extend the lead 19 points to 12. And then there's the flurry. the real flurry of tries. Kane gets one after the All Blacks have kind of, again, from turnover ball, hacked it through to put the Japan guys under a bit of territorial pressure. Talia had gone close in the build-up, 24-12. More pressure from New Zealand. Proctor had gone close, gets seatbelt tackled, so it's a penalty. New Zealand tap with the penalty, not mucking around, phases, and then Finau was able to show some pretty good footwork. He goes over 29-12, and then Tossie, the big tight head, he's able to get one. New Zealand long line-out throw. D-Max able to avoid that big smashing tackle. This time, Almua with a big carry, 36-12. When Tossie goes over, and then one more before half-time from a maul. Tamaiti Williams is able to go over. D-Mac converts it 43-12 at half-time. The flurry of points looks like, New Zealand could get 70, 80 points here. Doesn't end up being that bad for Japan, but New Zealand had 65% possession in the first half, 60% territory, 300 plus run meters. Japan is still in the hundreds. 21 defenders beaten to 7, 9 clean breaks to 3, and there's been bugger all kicking. 8 kicks by the ABs, 5 by Japan. Japan's traditionally not been a heck of a lot of a kicking side. They want to play quick, tire opposition defenses out, but to be fair, at the end of the first half, it was Japan that were looking a little bit tired. There was space out wide for the All Blacks to take, and then they continued that first half form in the second half when Roygaard was able to go over. The All Blacks offloading game in the build-up to that one was thing of beauty stuff, and Roygaard's got some real power for a number 9. Made it 50 points to 12. That's on 43 minutes. The next All Blacks try is not until Ruben Love gets one right at the death. He actually gets 2. So a little bit of that kind of second half struggle from the ABs, especially the kind of final 20. But you got to give credit to Japan for throwing some attacking waves at the ABs, and some credit to the All Blacks for largely holding them out. They didn't really look like getting broken down, and they did change all the forwards pretty much like South African style on 50 minutes when they just cleared the bench of the forwards. It was just Havili and Love sitting there on the bench because they brought on TJ as well. And that change probably did disjoint the ABs a little bit. But Japan put on a heap of pressure. They couldn't crack the defense. There were some big hits from guys like Finau and co. And then one of the best chances, Riley with the line break. Yazaki, the fullback, looks like he's potentially going to gas D-Mac for the corner, but D-Mac gets in with a try-saving tackle. I mean, Riley had beaten Proctor, and I like Proctor, but, Dylan Riley's been a good player for Japan on the test level for a while now, so Proctor kind of got shown up with that one. But, D-Mac saves the All Blacks day on that one, although they did score a minute later, and again it's a soft one for New Zealand. The big tight head prop for Japan, Hilu, just from loose ball, he just picks it up, runs straight at the All Blacks defensive line, straight through. D-Mac's got to make a try-saving tackle on a guy who's a number of kilos heavier than him. He's like a 120 kilo unit. D-Mac, I think, virtually just almost pulls out of it. He doesn't get him. Adds 50 points to 19, so at least Japan do get on the board in the second half. They do get those 2 late tries through Ruben Love, like I mentioned. Again, it's not that slick. Like the final pass from Talia to Love for his one was a bit of a nothing pass, but he's still able to power over for a try, which is good. 57-19, and then again loose ball as Japan keep wanting to play. Credit to them, but they got punished for it with Love getting a second. So 64-19. As I said, finishes a bit of a hiding. All Blacks have a messy start, then a great patch where they just obliterated the Japanese defense. Then they got some tackling practice in that second half, which was largely pretty stable. And the tries they conceded, I feel like they won't be too thrilled with, but at least they get a couple at the death. Possession finish at 54-46, territory 53-47, so a bit more even. Like Japan had 54% possession in the second half. Run meters, the All Blacks 500 to Japan's 363, so it's not quite as lopsided. Defenders beaten 32-17 to the ABs, but remember it was 21 in the first half, so nowhere near as emphatic in the second. Clean breaks 13-9. Again, it was 9 in the first half for the AB, so only 4 in the second. Offloads, though, 20-5. All Blacks really backing themselves to chuck it around. In Japan, only 10 kicks in the entire game is way low. At times, costly for them. They probably needed to implement a little bit more of a kicking game at times just to get them out of dodge. The All Blacks 22 is about kind of on par for them. And the tackling percentage for the ABs, 89% is great. That's really encouraging. Japan 73, just too low. No cards, that's always a pleasing one. Individuals, Satiti 82 meters, he was on fire. Roygaard's pass was really crisp. Good to see him back in action. Talau, 6 defenders beaten. DMAC, 5 defenders beaten. Reese, 3 clean breaks. Finau, 17 tackles for the Japanese. Nakabula, 62 meters. Tatakawa and Fakatava were the 2 top tacklers for them, with 12 and 13 respectively. Japan play France in their upcoming tests, and the All Blacks will take on England, which will be an interesting one. Remember, Razor has already sent some of the boys off to Europe, some of the boys that didn't play in this game. So as I said, this game was a little bit more experimental, but yeah, 64-19. I think there's quite a few positives to take from that one, even if it's not all rosy. But you guys let us know your thoughts. What did you think of the AB's performance? Where do you think Japan's at under Eddie at the moment? As I said, it's still a pretty young side. The old guard has largely been shown the door. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. I would greatly appreciate it. You take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.